All right, good morning, and welcome to this week's episode of the Out&Out Marketing Minute webinar. I'm Ernie DiMolanta. Um, I just want to say, please excuse the mess behind me. All the other all the other rooms in the house are being used for different purposes at this point, so I am resorted to working out in the laundry room. So please excuse that, but you know what? Desperate times calls for desperate measures, I guess. All right, this week's webinar, we are focusing on email marketing. It's a great way to stay top of mind with your target audience, and especially during this time when, let me turn some lights on here, especially during this time when we are all in lockdown mode. We are having to look for creative ways to stay in touch with our target audience, right? We don't have the ability to even go to the nearest Panera to even meet with people or to meet with people at their offices. So we resorted to digital means. We resorted to phone calls, etc. Right. So today we're going to be focusing on email marketing as a great way to be in touch. Now, one of the things that I want to mention is that this I will be recording this webinar, and so hopefully, if all goes well, it's the first time I'm doing this. So if all goes well, we'll have the recording of the file, and then we'll send each of you the file so that you could preview it later. Again, for those of you who don't know, I'm Ernie DiMolanta, CEO and founder of DiMolanta Design Group. I've been doing marketing consulting since 2004 and worked with hundreds of organizations, whether it be working on their brand, working on certain campaigns, or consulting on their marketing. So I've been around the block. I've kind of heard and seen a lot of different tactics that can be used, and one of them being email marketing. And you know, one of the things that people have asked me in the past is email marketing or email campaigns still relevant? And I would say absolutely, because right now, if you want to stay top of mind, that's a great way to do it. Because 99% of your consumers, of your audience, check their email every day. Now, whether they open your email or not, may require some creativity on your part. We'll talk a little bit more about this here in a few minutes, but we know that still majority of customers are utilizing emails. And unfortunately, unfortunately, do you remember the days when you would just easily pick up the phone, give your customers a call? Nowadays, people don't even want to answer their phones. I don't know if it's you or if it's just me, but oftentimes we don't want to answer our phones. We don't want to talk. I don't know if that's a good thing. Probably not. However, people still check their phones for messages, chats, text messages, email messages, what's going on Twitter, social media, etc. Right? So one of the things is that they do check their emails, and they're oftentimes notified on their phone. And so you want to stay top of mind, and you want to utilize email campaigns to do that. One thing to consider now, I'm going to be spending I just want to really keep you for about 30 to 40 minutes tops. This is really just like a quick hit, caffeinated type of webinar, and I'm going to give you some tips and some ideas, help you to, along the process of your email campaigns. I'm not going to be spending so much on just basics of email campaigns, but I am aware that some of you may not be doing email blasts. And so I'll just point out a few different bullet points here for those of you who aren't currently doing it. And then I'm going to move on to some of the more advanced tips, I guess, for 2020. Starting with the basics of email campaigns. First of all, you want to select the email platform that works best for you. There are a lot of different platforms, whether it be MailChimp or Constant Contact, to name the two most popular ones, but there are several other different programs out there. Each one comes with their own different templates, their own insights or analytics. And so you really need to work with the ones that seem to suit you and your budget the best. Now, I know we tend to prefer MailChimp, or we tend to encourage that for a lot of our smaller businesses, because they do have a free account where, like, up to a couple thousand or so emails, it's all free. And so I would encourage you to look into MailChimp as an example. The second thing, basics, produce relevant and useful content. When you're looking to do emails, make sure you're thinking about your audience. Make sure you're creating content that you think that would enhance their experience. The third thing, design your emails to match your brand standards. Keep in mind that any messaging that you send out is a reflection of you, right? And I don't know why, but sometimes it seems like with businesses, they tend to they don't put little stock into how things look when it comes to their marketing, and don't realize that everything that you present to your audience is a reflection and communicates a message. And if you recall, last webinars, I've talked about the difference between brand identity and brand image, right? Brand identity, that is who you are. That's your identity. Brand image is how people perceive you. And so you want to try to align how people perceive you as close to who you really are as a business. And so therefore, if your brand image is way out in left field, then they're not going to have a good experience or good first impressions, and they're not going to be able to communicate exactly who you are, right? And so again, design your emails to match your brand standards. Make sure it fits the look and the feel and the style that you want to communicate to your audience. A couple more points as far as basics. Include a call to action. Oftentimes people forget there's no call to action to your emails. You're just sending out content with nothing for them to do, right? So a couple of call to actions, simply, give them an offer, give them a promote something, a discount to products or services. Maybe give them encourage your audience to download something, download white papers and articles you've written, models you've created. There's a lot of different things you could do for call to actions, but you definitely want to include that. Another basic tip is be creative with your subject line. All right. We are bombarded. And, I was talking with somebody the other day how they recently have just remove themselves off of Facebook and all social media because their mind is so bombarded by all sorts of messaging from all different angles, right? And so the same thing goes with emails. How many emails do you think we get in a day? Some of us could be hundreds, and it could be overwhelming. It's to the point where people have to set aside and schedule time throughout their day to actually manage their emails. And because of this, that doesn't mean that email marketing is outdated or irrelevant. It just means you have to be a little bit more creative in your subject lines to encourage people to open them, right? Then lastly, again, just basics. I want maintain regular frequency. Now, the question oftentimes I get was, how often? How often do I send out emails? Well, that obviously, there's a number of variables that help you determine frequency. One is the industry you're in. Certain industries wouldn't like it if you email them more than once a month. Others, if you have a particular product you're selling and it's more of a lifestyle type product, they may not mind having a weekly email sent to them. However the case, this is something you can test with your audience, but maintain regular frequency. What you don't want to do with marketing in general is what is called like the stop and go type strategy to marketing, where you think of the local pizza shop who they market to try to sell their pizzas. They get so overwhelmed, then they stop their marketing, and then they spend all their time making the pizzas. That kind of stop and start marketing doesn't allow you to be able to nurture your audience and as a result, you won't be able to get them to move in a direction you want as easily as in and so you want to make sure you maintain frequency. Now, you also want to consider what is actually doable, right? You don't want to force it and force content that isn't any good. And so make sure you pick something that is achievable, that you could be able to create good content and good experience in a way that makes people want to open up your emails in the future. All right. Again, I know this is really quick as far as the basics of email campaigns, but I'm going to go by the assumption that most of you are already doing it. And so these are just the simple fundamentals. Now, I do want to, before I transition, I do want to encourage you guys to ask questions. Um, you have a couple things you can do. One, you could unmute yourself and just ask your question that way. Or two, you can be able to just chat. And I see some of you are already chatting some messages to me right now. And I'll stop and I'll answer them. So here are a couple questions that came through. Are call to action buttons better than text? So when you're creating call to actions, yes, call to action buttons are better than text because it draws the eye to that call to action better. People tend to scan and skim while they're reading, and so they don't. And this is again another unfortunate thing, I guess, of our times. But they don't necessarily read word for word. They like to skim and get the main gist of your emails. And so if you could create a button for call to actions, that would definitely draw their attention better. So another question, this is good. Thoughts about cold email campaigns. I'm assuming these are emails that maybe you don't quite have a relationship with. I would be careful with that. There's a new thing that's happening a couple of years ago started in the UK, where now in the UK they make it illegal to necessarily email to lists of emails that you have no relationship with. That kind of spamming is becoming something that they're trying to steer people away in the UK, and I imagine that more and more that's going to be spread over here to the States as well. And so whether it does or not, I think the point being is that if you don't have relationships to some degree or another with the emails on your list, those cold emails, one, you're not going to get good success with that. Two, you may be blocked by the software that you use, and so just be careful about that. I would really try to encourage each of you to do opt-ins. If you do have a list of emails that don't really have a relationship with you, to send out an email to them specifically asking, would you like to opt in, to receive future emails? And some companies, they like to even give a list of different types of emails, because some people, they may want specific emails about discounts or offers on services, but they don't necessarily want the weekly emails about what's going on in your neighborhood type of a thing. So when you send out these opt-in emails, you could be able to give them an opportunity to check off the type of emails that those people may want, and then build your list off of that so that future emails that go out aren't as cold, but are a little warmer. That's a great question. Now, in 2020, emails and things have evolved quite a bit. And for 2020, I wanted to give you guys 5 strategies to improve your campaigns. These ideas are centered around the evolution of technology alongside consumers' demand for relevant, personalized, and authentic experiences from the companies that they engage with. Couple things are really important. As technology continues to increase and to improve and enhance, and messaging is continually bombarding our audience, there is this deep-rooted need for relationships, whether it be on a personal side or on a professional side. And so consider that when you are sending out your emails, you want to make sure, you want to understand that your audience want relevant, personalized, authentic experiences. They want to know that this isn't just something you send out to everybody, but that you're really trying to send them something that is with them in mind, right? That's hard. That can be difficult, and it's not really all that new of a concept. I guess they started doing personalized URLs, or what they call that, personalized print back in the days, about 15 years ago. But in emails now, the technology makes it such that you can be able to do variable data within your emails, whether it be their first names on the emails, variable data of images on their emails, or content. And so these 5 strategies are revolving on the increasing of relationship, the need for relationships, and the utilization of the technology to do that. So, without further ado, we'll start with number 1. The first one is segmenting your audience. This isn't a new thing. Obviously, segmenting your audience has been around since forever. But the issue is, are you actually doing that? That's the real question here. Are you segmenting your audience? So when you look at your contact, your CRM, or your customer relationship management tool, and you export all of the data, the emails out of there, do you segment them, or do you just send one blast to all of them? All right. Segmenting your audience is very important for email campaigns to be successful. What we know based on current research is that a third of the customers that we reach out to, they desire personalized experience. And yet, unfortunately, only 7% of us actually personalize and make personalization a priority. And so are you one of those 7% of companies? Most likely, we have a challenge of segmenting your audience. And why is that? One is because it's boring, right? It takes a lot of time to sift through data. And a lot of us, we own our own businesses. We're so busy on the sales side, on the production side. When it comes to marketing, we don't like to carve out time to look at our database and segment them according to different demographics, or clients versus not clients, or circle of influences versus not. There's a lot of different ways to segment your audience, but are you doing that? And when you do that, then you can be able to create emails that have images that are relevant to certain segments, relevant discounts per segmentation, right? The most important thing is that you're sending out the right message for the right consumer. Okay. Let's see here. It says, just sent our first BCM with MailChimp yesterday after using YMLP. Real newbie with this. Any resources you could recommend? One of the things we could do is, when we send out the link of this recording, we can be able to send out links to resources as well to help you better your campaigns. So great point there. Timing is everything too. So not only is it timing, but segmenting and making sure you get that message out to them at the right time, right? The second thing I want to point out is analyzing your data. Another jury type of activity, at least if you're like me, where I tend to like to be in front of people. I enjoy doing these webinars, but analyzing your data, that's not something that I really enjoy doing, right? But this is so crucial, especially nowadays. But you got to look beyond your data and observe how your customers are behaving. You're not just looking at click-through rates, open rates. Sure, certainly you are, but you have to go beyond that. As you're tracking your data, are you trying to observe any of the likes and dislikes of your audience? What does it seem like as you're doing a number of these emails? What does it seem like they are most interested in? Sometimes, if you're sending content that's a little bit more on a personal side, behind the scenes type content. Maybe you get more engagement that way versus just something about the industry, a little bit more stale type content. Kind of track how are people engaging with your emails over the course of time, and that will help you determine content that works with your people. What are type of actions are performed? Are people downloading your information, downloading white papers, uh, downloading any reports that you have created for them, any data, or are they sharing this information? Are they clicking on links to take advantage of discounts or services provided? Right. Just make sure that you're looking at the data prior to sending out your next newsletter or next email blast that's going out. The one thing that's a little bit more advanced than beyond this is to integrate your data points together with Google Analytics. All right. Majority of us, if we have a website, there's going to be analytics behind the website that's involved behind the website. Try to compare the data points and the key performance indicators that you notice on your email blast with your website analytics to be able to track what's happening with traffic. So as people are clicking through your emails, most likely they're going to your website. What are they doing after they go to your website? Track the flow of visitors within your website, right? And analytics makes that possible, where you can be able to track behavior patterns, track what pages they're clicking on, and that will help you to gain insight of relevancy. What do people want to hear and get from experiencing with your brand? All right. Again, this is very caffeinated, a lot of information, but I just want to keep doing this to motivate and encourage you in your marketing. So we'll move on to point 3 here. Again, feel free to stop me and ask questions as we move along. The third strategy to improve your campaign is to nurture and engage your current audience. You want to offer them the best experience possible. I remember way back when Apple wasn't as huge as they were now. Do you remember when Apple used to have their tiny little computers with the tiny little screens? And I remember going to grade school and all the schools were outfitted with these little computers. And I remember thinking at that point, like, these are a piece of junk. Who who are going to use these computers? They're so slow and antiquated, and yet they were brand new, right? Well, believe it or not, Apple at that time, their marketing director, his name is Guy Kawasaki. Really interesting, very experienced, very knowledgeable guy in marketing. I would encourage you to follow him on Twitter and Facebook and such. But his name is Guy Kawasaki. Very smart marketer. He realized that despite how antiquated these type of machines were compared to the PC counterparts, he realized that there was a small select group of avid Apple users. They loved Apple products. And so what he did is he realized he needed to nurture this small group of people and almost create like a cult, right? And so what he did is instead of calling it email, his email newsletters, he called it his evangelistic newsletters. He basically, as a company, as Apple, he evangelized to the small group of people that loved Apple, and gave them the experience they wanted, and gave them that rebel type of newsletter that they were expecting and couldn't wait to see, right? And to this day, if you look at now, that started years ago, and now you look at Apple and and now it's more mainstream. Everybody has an Apple computer or iPhones, or using Apple products. But it started with understanding that there is that they had this small select group of people who were avid consumers, and they gave them exactly what they wanted. They threw fuel onto the fire. Well, I want to encourage you to think, each of you have your own avid audience. You have your own fan base, or what I like to call your circle of influence. Do you segment your lists and have just one list that contains those avid consumers or avid fans? You do. You have them. Whether it be 5, 10, or 100 people, you have those people. Segment them out and create a newsletter, sort of an evangelistic newsletter that's directed to them, that speaks in a way that really resonates with them and gets them excited. Why? Because if you're nurturing your current audience, that avid user base, they're going to be the ones who are going to go and talk about your product or your services the best, even better than you or I, right? Because they understand it. They've utilized your services. They get it, and they want to tell other people about it. But you need to throw fuel onto the fire, and you need to segment them out. Don't treat your circle of influence like the masses. Segment them out. Create a separate email that communicates that brand experience best to them. All right. So hopefully you guys will do that, because I tell you, when you do that, you will increase your referrals. You would increase word of mouth marketing, right? And as a result, your business will grow, will continue to grow. Well, at least after we get back to working, right? We're all in lockdown here. I think every businesses are having a hard time, and I understand that. I'm aware of that, but now is the time. There's a lot of businesses I've spoken with during this month where they're kind of retreating or pulling back. That's not how marketing works. This is the time where you should really start to engage, use your emails, engage your different segments, especially your circle of influence, your current audience. All right. Next strategy. Let's look at the time. All right, it's 11:30. Got 2 more to go. Next strategy, number 4, utilize automated emails. All right, because we have this technology at our disposal, you can be able to schedule emails, or you could be able to create template emails, so that, let's say you bring on a new client, you have a template welcome email that goes out to them. You have a template opt-in email so that you don't get you get their permission, so your emails aren't going out cold. You have these automated emails that go out during different points of engagement of your business. So perhaps you have automated emails that go out when you right after you get sent out a proposal or what have you. There's an automated email that goes out that gives them additional information, downloading white papers or what have you. Then when they become a client, then you have a welcome email. We thank you for your business and for the opportunity to be able to support you and work with you. You have a welcome email that goes out. And then as renewals are coming, let's say you have a business where there's annual renewals, then leading up to the renewal dates, you send out another automated email to encourage them, to thanking them, but encouraging them to continue utilizing you for the following year, right? There's a lot of different emails that you could create in software, and then you could have as templates, so that if you discipline yourself, you could have these things automated to go out, and therefore thereby strengthening and nurturing, continually nurturing that relationship, right? All right, so think about the sales process. No matter what industry we are in, we follow this basic sales process, right? First, we create awareness to our audience. Then our audience, if they have an interest, they evaluate our services. After they evaluate our services, if they like what we have to say, then they purchase from us or they engage with us. But that engagement is simply that. It's an engagement. That's not married long term, in other words, right? Because after they engage with us and they use our products or services, They're really trying to gather, do they really like working with us? And then after that initial utilization, that next step, then they decide whether they want to continue using you. And they can, if they continue using you, that means that now they want to marry you. In other words, they want to continually use your service. And if they really like that service, they're going to advocate for you, or um, you know, use word of mouth to promote you. Now, if you look at that, all these different points of the engagement where they could easily exit. They can leave and say, you know what, I don't like this relationship. This relationship's for me. They tell me one thing, they give me another thing, and I don't like that. They said they're going to follow up with me, they don't follow up with me. And at any point of that engagement, it's so finicky that they could actually exit. Utilizing emails and automated emails is just one additional way where you can be able to streamline your communication with your audience and help to secure that relationship with your audience so that they continue along the engagement process and become your advocates, talking about you to everybody. And that's what you really want, right? That's what you really want, is you want people to talk about you in a good way that helps to promote business and create referral, right? All right. With automated emails, if you send out automated emails at the right time, they can produce click through rates that are up to 152% higher than standard emails that you send out each month. They could also produce about 70.5% higher open rates if you, again, create these automated emails that are sent out at the right time during that engagement process. Those are high results, but that requires you to, again, think about points 1 and 2. It requires you to analyze the data, to try to segment your audience and understand them so that you're sending out these relevant information to them. Yes, MailChimp does have a question did come through. Does MailChimp offer automated emails? Yes, they do. You have to create the templates and schedule these things. But last time I checked, they have that feature as well. And all right, and the last point is number 5: discover your strengths and weaknesses through A/B testing. All right, A/B testing is nothing new in the marketing field. In other words, you just want to test different results, right? And see what different results you get. Basically, with A/B testing, what that means is that you select different audiences, and you send one email with maybe perhaps a different message, then another email with a different message to another group of people. That's A/B testing, and you see which ones you get a better result. And again, that gives you better insight when you make your next email blasts. There's a number of things you could do with A/B testing. You can test with a group of, let's say, 100 people. You segment about 100 people out of your database, and maybe you test different subject lines with that group, or you test different call to actions. Maybe you test different photos or videos. Maybe one you try, with one group of people, I'm gonna send them videos. Another group of people, I'm gonna send them more texts, content, and see which one wins. All right. Again, don't think of just short game. Think of the long game here. And as you're constantly trying to nurture your audience, one great way to be more effective is through A/B testing. All right. That way you can be able to discover your strengths, weaknesses, what works, what doesn't work, and you can continue to massage email campaigns that are more effective in the future, down the line. And again, keep in mind what I said earlier. You have to maintain regular frequency. And so your email should be going out once a month, maybe depending on the industry, once a week. So utilize A/B testing to be able to see what works and what doesn't work. All right, I'm looking at the time here, everybody. Again, I want to honor your time. I know you're all busy, but really, I'll stay online to answer any questions that you may have. But before I do that, I just want to encourage you guys to don't give up on marketing. I know times are tough right now. I know we're twiddling our thumbs trying to figure out what else we can be able to do with our time. Well, you know what? A great thing you could do with your time is continue on with your marketing, organize your marketing, work on your marketing, send out email campaigns. Don't give up. Next week, we're going to focus on the importance of relationship marketing. Okay, and what are some tactics you can do to enhance your relationships, to encourage business. So with that, I'll open the floor with questions. And I know some of you may have to leave. I understand that, but I'll be staying on. So feel free to ask them. All right, another question. Do you know any marketing companies that can help with small businesses with email marketing? That's a great question. So, DiMilano Design Group, we are a full service marketing firm. We are like your offsite marketing department. So, thanks for that softball pitch you just threw me, Chris. But DiMilano Design Group, we can be able to help you with your email campaigns, but we can go beyond that. We can help you with your brand management design. We can help with executing your ad campaigns, etc. So feel free to reach out to us afterwards. George, yes, you can get a copy of this webinar recording after the recording is processed. We'll be sure to send you out a link along with additional resources that may be able to help you with this topic of email marketing. I'll stay on board to answer any questions. Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to talk that way, and or just continue chatting. That's great too. All right. Let's see here. We do have other questions I didn't see. Need to segment with MailChimp. Anything quick you could say about how? So there's really, when it comes to segmentation, Paul, there's really no glamorous way of doing that. It's importing your information onto like an Excel spreadsheet and really trying to look at your fields and either segment it based on your fields. If you don't have fields that identify the type of person that's on your spreadsheet there, you may want to create a field for now on, so that you can identify whether they're, in your case, whether they're volunteers, whether they're donors, whether they're clients, etc. And then segment, literally pull out those emails into different sheets, different tabs, and then from there you can upload those emails into MailChimp. So again, it's sort of like the non-glamorous side of marketing, but it's one of those things that you can do. And guess what? We are in lockdown, so this is a great time to sit behind your computer and sift through your list of emails. All right, any more questions? What is an average open rate? An average open rate, when you're thinking about the open rates for your emails, a standard email, you really want to strive to about 20% open rate for your emails. So 20% is industry-wide. That tends to be the magic number you're trying to hit. Now I say standard emails because I'm considering like newsletters, monthly newsletters as standard emails going out, for example. But if you're trying to automate emails and do these welcome emails that are going out to new clients right after they sign on, you should be expecting higher open rates there. Again, those open rates can really be stellar because of the fact that it's very relevant and timely to that particular individual or audience. So, but for standard, again, 20% is what you want to strive towards. All right, again, next week we're focusing on relationship marketing. during this time when we've been hit by this pandemic, we realize that a lot of us are prioritizing our relationships, and we're realizing that our personal relationships, our professional relationships are very important to us. But how do you manage those relationships in a way that helps your business? That's what we're going to talk about tomorrow, not tomorrow, next Friday. So be on the lookout for that invite, as we will send one out early next week. And again, thank you so much for taking part of this Out and Out Marketing Minute. We look forward to hearing from you next week. And again, well, quick reminder, we will be launching a Out and Out Marketing Minute podcast in the weeks to come. Let's get past all this quarantine here first, and then we're going to go ahead and launch that. But in the meantime, you got me every week for the rest of this month online on a webinar. So, all right, have a great day and have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.